Hello everyone and welcome back to Monsters of the Mind. As always, I'm your host Mr.G. Today, we're talking about a creature categorized as a yokai, which if you don't know are monsters from Japan. Anyway, today we're talking about the snow spirit Yuki-Onna. Yuki-Onna means snow woman, and I genuinely can't tell if she's supposed to be an individual or a species, because some stories refer to her using singular pronouns, but yet other stories talk about Yuki-Onna plural, and I am just so confused. So, can someone please help me out here? Are they a species, or is this the name of a single monster? Whether she was good or bad depends on the time. In a lot of her earlier stories, she was kind of like she was just kind of like someone who liked messing with humans, and she was pretty rude, all things considered. But in more recent years, she's been portrayed more sympathetically. Anyway, she lives in the mountains of Japan, or really any other snowy region of the area, and she comes from Japanese folklore. Yuki-Onna is often described as a ghost-like entity with pale skin and long black hair. She's had many stories about her over the centuries. For her origins, she was either a woman who froze to death or a moon princess who came to Earth and brought snow with her. Some stories give her icy breath, which lets her freeze people to death, but other stories just have her leading them into blizzards so they'll die of exposure. Now let's get into some stories about her. In some stories, she appears in people's houses, people get freaked out by her, then she leaves in a flurry of snow. In other stories, it's said if you make eye contact with her while talking, she'll eat you, and if you don't answer her when she calls your name, she'll push you down a cliff. Other stories say that she would sometimes appear holding a baby, asking if you would hold it. If you said yes, then the baby would get heavier and heavier until you fully sink into the snow. And if you said no, then she would push you off a cliff. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of Japanese monsters are the king of Morton's Fork situations. If you don't know, Morton's Fork means that something bad happens no matter what option you pick. Other stories talk about how she would only spare you if she considered you attractive, but if she spared you, then she swore you to secrecy. Most stories that involve that also involve her disguising herself as a regular human and marrying the one she swore to secrecy to make sure they didn't tell anyone. Finally, some people think she's actually synonymous with another yokai known as a bume, who in a nutshell is a spirit who stalks pregnant women in an attempt to steal their babies. The reason people say they're synonymous is due to some stories involving Yuki-Onna, involving her kidnapping children, so some people think that they're meant to be one and the same entity, but like I said earlier, some stories refer to her as plural, so I can't tell anymore. Now here's Vincent. So, funny story. In my world, Yuki-Onna actually got married to Jack Frost, and they had a pretty stable relationship for a while. They even started up their own ice cream shop. It was actually pretty good. But then one day, something went wrong, and something exploded within their shop and then got covered in condiments. I have a picture of the aftermath right here. They got divorced shortly after. Ever since then, Jack Frost has been living on Santa Claus's couch. He said he would only be there for 2 weeks, but it's been 75 years and he's still there. As for Yuki-Onna, she ended up releasing a diss track against Jack Frost. You know, like how people make songs about their exes. Yeah, she made one of those. You know, my world is very weird, come to think of it. Now let's look at the card. Wow, they really captured her long black hair perfectly with those pointy icicle hairs. Wow, I can't believe it. They perfectly nailed this one detail that's mentioned in almost all of her stories. Also, I like how the card just says Snow Spirit. Like, if you just look through a list of cards, would you be able to guess that Snow Spirit was referring to her? I mean, that could easily be referring to Jack Frost or any other winter-based spirit. Anyway, for the too generic of a name and the fact that they completely messed up her hair, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Now, I am pretty sure that she's been in several animes, but I don't watch anime, and frankly, I don't want to have to go through a bunch of animes to see if she's been in them, so the only pop culture appearance I'm mentioning is that the Pokemon Frostlass is based off of her. I'm sure she's been in other Japanese media, but quite frankly, I'm kind of tired and I don't want to have to dig through all that kind of stuff. So that's all for this episode of Monsters of the Mind. Join us next time when we get big. Bye!